Well, the Oregon Ducks have been wildly productive on the field, and a big part of that obviously is the coaches that they've brought in over the last 3 years with Dan Lanning and crew. And whether it's been Dillingham going out, the running back coach,
Carlos Loughlin
to Ohio State last year, like this, Oregon's staff has been poached because they've brought in a lot of good guys. And one of the guys that has been a recruiting dog for the Oregon Ducks has been Junior Adams. He has been a recruiter and a developer of talent. We were talking off air about the guys that he has been part of bringing in and developing, and it is a list.
Yeah, if you go down the list of guys that Junior Adams has recruited as the primary recruiter, I mean, it's pretty impressive historically, like guys that he has recruited.
Yes.
And that's talent evaluation. And then also, talent development once you get guys there.
Mm-hmm.
They include Cooper Kupp.
Pretty good.
Puka Nacua.
Pretty good.
Roma Dunze.
Pretty good.
Jalen McMillan.
Pretty good.
Right? You go down all of the people that he was the primary recruiter for that Oregon has now on roster, whether it's DeCorian Moore, who is one of the top receiver recruits in the country, the top receiver recruit in the country. He has had his hand, and then just talk about development, maximizing guys, right? I think most people saw Odunze and McMillan pop when he was gone.
Yeah.
Right? But he was the primary. Puka Nacua ended up transferring to BYU. But that's the talent evaluation, eye for talent. Right?
When you see hundreds of high school kids who are all good, great, what makes them stand out?
Right.
And truly understanding the differences and the paths that they can take.
And not all of those guys were the 5-star flashy recruits, right?
You got two guys from Eastern Washington there.
Well, one is Puka went to UW.
Yeah.
And then transferred to BYU. But what he has done from a development standpoint, Tez Johnson was a guy that he transferred from Troy to Oregon, and he was not the Tez Johnson that we know at Oregon. He had some big time plays that he could make. We knew that he had speed. You could see that, and that was apparent. But you saw him maximize Tez. You saw him maximize guys like Troy Franklin and develop and actually see those guys grow over their time with Junior Adams. He is a very good coach, and he's not just a recruiter. No. He's a developer too, and I think eye for talent and then being a guy that can recruit and close, those are very important things. And so if the reports are true, he does go to the Dallas Cowboys to be part of Brian Schottenheimer's staff. Look, on the surface, that is a blow. What Dan Lanning has done, though, in getting hires, he goes, lose secondary coach after year one, goes and gets Chris Hampton from Tulane, right? Chris Hampton is a dead-eye, he's dyed-in-the-wool football guy, great in the back end and coaching guys up. He was the defensive coordinator who's like, I'll be a co-DC and handle the back end of Oregon's defense. He goes and he gets Rashad Samples this past year. Instrumental in not just he's a young coach who is really damn good, but is also a really good recruiter for as young as he is. Guy was being floated out there as a potential head coaching candidate for Sam Houston State, or I guess it's just Sam Houston University. And he's young. His Samples' dad comes from a coaching family. Dad is the head coach at Duncanville High School.
A
powerhouse where DeCorian Moore went to high school as well. So he has gotten guys. Will Stein, after Kenny Dillingham, goes to University of Texas San Antonio, says, got a young play caller.
This is the kicker here. He's not going and taking from Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia. He's finding, much like the NFL, the risers. And he's getting, because Dan's young. So he's connected with the risers, and like he's a riser himself. And I think that those are the guys he goes and gets. Guys that kind of emulate him. And the single biggest reason that I have shifted my tune on what Oregon can be is Dan Lanning. And it's not just him, it's the entirety of Dan Lanning, which is his staff and who he brings in when he loses somebody. Because it is the recruiting. It is the development. It's the whole ethos has changed. And like losing Junior Adams, it's going to be a blow. There's no doubt about that. But if you're an Oregon fan, you should have faith that they're going to be able to get somebody in there who's going to be a dude.
And this will be really interesting to see kind of the direction that they do go. Do they go and try to pluck a guy out of, a standing power conference and say, we'll give you a pay bump. We know what you can do. We know you're really good. I know that, LSU's receivers coach was floated out in an article I think Zachary Neal had saying, do you go and just go big game hunting? A school that goes out and...
Do they do well with wide receivers at LSU?
Yeah, they recruit and they develop them pretty dang well. But, that's the thing is like they went to Tulane, Texas San Antonio, and I can't remember where Samples came from. Text line will get us on that. But he's not a guy that was one of those big school Power 4 position coaches. It is a riser, and recruiting is going to be important. But talent development, especially with that room that they have of wide receivers now, it's going to be pretty dang good. Now, they lost a lot. When you lose guys like Trayshawn Holden and you lose Tez Johnson, that is a big blow. But you have a stockpile of young guys in that receiver room that are pretty damn impressive. And so you've got to knock this hire out of the park, too. It'll be interesting.
Rashad Samples, student assistant at Houston, then assistant receivers coach at Texas, offensive assistant at SMU, followed by a stint as running backs coach and recruiting coordinator, and assistant head coach and running backs coach, then on to the Rams, Arizona State, and Oregon.
Yep, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, I went down to Dillingham.
There you go.
Went down to ASU and got him.
Yep. There's those ties.
So it is going to be a big hire. And Junior Adams, dude, his players freaking loved him. Very similar to Carlos Lachlan, who went over to Ohio State. Like, that was one that, like, all of the running backs were like, dude, we love Coach Locke. Well, Rashad Samples came in, and he acclimated himself really well to that room. And you hear about, what we saw at the beginning of the year from Jordan James and Noah Whittington to what we saw at the end of the year from those guys. It clicked, and they were different backs near the end of the year. And so he built up that trust and got that faith in them really quickly. Lanning has done a good job with his hire so far.
And again, I think if you're an Oregon fan, that's why you have faith in where they go next.